Hi friends, it's Betsy here. You are in Metabolism Mojo group, and I'm always here to try to help you heal your metabolism. And we do that with just trying to provide you with balanced and realistic strategies and tips and resources and all that good stuff. So I'm here, Stacy's here. We both do videos every week, and join me anytime, okay? And I hope you use them as resources down the road. So last week I talked about reading the ingredients. So it's kind of a combo. Last week we started by saying we have a product. We're going to look at the ingredients first. Super duper important. Don't ever jump to the nutrition facts and figuring out the grams of everything and the calories until you are truly have read the ingredients first. Hi Carol, good to have you here. So today though, we're going to be focusing more on the nutrition facts. So basically, I'm going to go do a few labels with you for examples and just tell you how my brain thinks. It's not the way that yours has to think, but it's just a solid way of thinking about how to do these. So I have just kind of like, I have a few things that I've cut through the years and have a little binder that I use for some of my clients. I'm going to hone in on carbohydrates more than anything because they are the most confusing. So first things first, let's just say I have beans here, okay? So beans are, there's the nutrition facts. Number one is we want to look at the serving size, right? You don't ever know what all this information is if you don't know what the serving is, because you got to figure that out. Okay, so the serving for a can of beans here for always is 1/2 cup. Yes, I have 3 examples and it's always 1/2 cup for the beans. Okay, so, and there's about 3.5 servings in the container. So that's how you know that's what's in the container. Okay, after that, we go down the list of what's in a nutrition fact and it's calories next. Okay, and I'm just going to tell you, I don't do calories. I know that might not mesh with some of you, but this is my group and I'm not into it. So all in all, when you have a damaged metabolism, calories in do not equal calories out. And I think so many of you can attest to say that if you end up depriving yourself, all in all, I have a lot of women with damaged metabolism that actually end up gaining weight. There's so many women that eat so much less than I do, that what Stacy eat, and they end up gaining. So calories does not mean much. It's more about the quality of the food that you put into your body, meaning the ingredients, and then the right portions, meaning we're going to look at this, and the right balance when you're making and creating meals. So that's so much more important. Okay, next on the list is the fat. I don't spend too much time in the fat department because all in all, you know whether this is a solid food or not, whether it's like healthy or not. Beans, pretty dang healthy, They're clean for the most part. We're going to rinse them off and we don't really have to care so much. There are foods that are more fat oriented, and so we might have to pay attention to that. We don't want to do the saturated fat so much, okay? So we pay attention to that, and the trans fats we don't like. Now, there are differences though. If a food is coming from an animal, the saturated fat is no bueno. Okay, that's definitely going to be the stuff that does not do well with your heart and with your cholesterol labs. But if it's a food coming from a vegan source, meaning like coconut, coconut is a very common one, whether you coconut oil or coconut milk, that is going to be high in the saturated fat department, but that is not the bad kind of saturated fat. So you can pay attention to that. If it's from like eggs or animal sources, like directly the meats, that's going to be a bad saturated fat versus the animal sources. So I hope that clarifies that. But I don't dive too much into the fat department because most of my food choices are going to be on the cleaner side. Okay, cholesterol, the same kind of thing. I'm just going to keep kind of cleaner foods. Sodium is like on beans are going to be a fair amount. So for the beans, it's 260 milligrams, 330 milligrams. And so that's 11% of your daily value. And all in all, that's a bit much, but we're going to rinse them. Okay, so that's going to pay attention. And just to be clear about salt, I'm really not that worried about salt or sodium if it is more of a cleaner product. So if you read the ingredients and you said, this isn't so bad, it looks very basic, I don't really care about salt unless you are very salt sensitive. So if you're that type of person who eats like Chinese food and you're like puff up, or you have hypertension and heart disease, then I would worry more about sodium. But in general, it's not one of my key areas. I tend to look more, next on the list is carbohydrates. So carbs are a big deal. Our society, we know that carbs are a big deal. We don't want too many of them, because then we're gonna have our insulin level rise up to absorb all that carbs, and that's gonna store fat. You don't want too little of it because you're just gonna be craving them later and it's never gonna last. And that stresses the body out. And when those adrenals are stressed, we tend to pack on weight anyway. So the big deal here is that we want to pay attention more to carbs. Now, when I work with clients, I'm going to be calculating what their carb levels are for each and every meal. And I'd say if it was typical, I would say anywhere from like 15 to like 30 grams is like a normal carb level at a meal. So this one, let's look at this. So this one for the beans, I'm not good at holding this and looking at it. It's 20 grams of carbohydrates, right, in that half a cup. But then I want to document that the fiber in this is 7 grams of fiber. I'm the type of person who counts net carbs. So 20 grams minus the 7 equal 13 grams of carbs. Okay, so that is more the carb level. And when I said I want my clients to get anywhere from 15 to 30 grams, it's going to be more net carbs because the 7 grams of fiber are just coming out the poop chute. Okay, they're not going to be giving you fuel to be fueling that metabolism. They're going to be helpful. Like I love fiber. They're going to help slow down the absorption of the total carbs. And so it's more of like a lower glycemic kind of effect where your blood sugar absorbs slowly. So fiber is awesome. We want that. And we just are going to calculate more net carbs if you are going to be calculating. The next one is sugar grams, and that's a big deal. So sugar grams in beans, you're not going to get too much. It's one, and this one has 3 grams, which is kind of unusual. But all in all, it's going to be on the lower side, but we don't want much sugar. That's a big deal. So that's a big one to look at is the sugar grams. And already my kids who like look at labels and they're like, Mom, what do I look at? I'm like, I don't want to confuse them. I definitely don't want them looking at calories and getting obsessed with that. I tell them sugar. Sugar is just such a good one to keep your eye on that. And next is the protein. So protein is in grams, just to let you know. And so a big information that you need to know is 7 grams of protein equal 1 ounce. So if you have like very common kind of thought processes is like a deck of cards of chicken is 3 ounces of protein. So 3 ounces of protein times 5 is 21 grams. So that can kind of give you a visual of that. In beans, in a half a cup of beans, it's about 1 ounce of protein because it's 7 grams. So you might need to know that, especially, when I'm working with clients, I would calculate protein needs as well. And on average, it's anywhere from like 1 to 4 ounces of protein at a meal or snack. So I hope that kind of clarifies. That's the big picture. I'm just going to look at a few other labels to kind of show you some difference. So this one is craisins, okay? Like when we read the ingredients first, we're going to see that, yeah, there's probably some sugar in these. It's just cranberries and sugar in this brand. That's it. But your brain goes, wow, craisins are a really sweet food. So I definitely am going to look at the sugar in this. So first of all, the serving size, it's 1/4 cup. Not too much. It's probably somewhat typical. I'm jumping right to the carbs because it's really going to be minimal, like no fats, no cholesterol, minimal, no sodium, So, but the carbs are 33 grams of carbs. Okay, yeah, that's a lot of carbs, or that's a decent amount, but the big deal is 29 grams of those 33 are sugar grams. So this is going to absorb way too fast. And as a whole, if you are like an elite athlete, if you're doing this anywhere near like an activity, you'll probably burn it off. And, if I do trail mix, sometimes I add something like this in here. I add a little bit into my salads. I just don't do much, okay? It's definitely high sugar. This is the amount of sugar that you might get in a candy bar, So I think I'd rather have a candy bar than craisins. Okay, another idea. I did want to bring out quinoa, okay? So quinoa is, everyone's like, it's a protein. No, it's not. Like, what is it? So the deal about quinoa, just to be clear, I'll read the nutrition facts first. The ingredients are only quinoa. That is it. It's a quarter of a cup dry, just note, and it's rice or quinoa. When it's dry, it'll double in size. So it'll be about a half a cup of cooked. There's really not much fat, cholesterol, sodium. The carbs are 29 grams of carbs. You know, I said anywhere from like 15 to 30, so that fits in that world. 3 of them are fiber. So we're going to say 29 minus the 3 is about 26 grams of absorbable carbs in this. And there's 6 grams of protein, which is a little less than an ounce. So just to be clear, they do have some protein, okay? Quinoa is protein. The big deal, the reason why people talk about quinoa as protein, it's because it has all the essential amino acids to build muscle and to make that complete protein. So that's why people think of it as a protein, and it's good for vegetarians. But all in all, it's not that much, but it has some protein. It's more of a carb, okay? So hope that clarifies. Anything else? I have my protein powder. So this is my favorite protein powder that I carry that I love. The ingredients are long, but it's mostly vitamins in here, and it's just a pea and rice based protein powder, and it's got lots of fruit and vegetable extracts. I do love this stuff. And just because, you know, I figure protein powder is a good one to kind of think about. The serving size is 2 scoops. Personally, I just do 1 and I blend up this like smoothie with lots of food in it as well, because I don't want to be so dependent on powders. So that's kind of the way my brain thinks. But 2 scoops, I'll just do the 2 scoops, even though I do the 1. It does have some fat, but it's coming from monounsaturated fats more than anything else, which is one of the best fats. And then cholesterol 0. It does have some sodium, but it's on the low side. And then carbs, you know, some protein powders have carbs, some don't. This one has 11 grams, but 5 of them are fiber. So it's got a lot of fiber in this one. So it comes out to 6 grams of absorbable carbs. And it's got it's sometimes when they says total sugars, this one has 2 grams, and then it'll clarify and say how much is actually added. Because sometimes the sugar is naturally in a product and sometimes it's added. So this one has 1 gram of added sugar. Again, I do it in half, so I'm barely getting any sugar in this. But then the protein is 15 grams in the 2 scoops, okay? So if you're dividing it by 7, that equals 2 ounces. So this is just kind of another label to look at. So I think I've done enough label reading for you guys. I hope that clarifies where it's not so confusing. You know, just know the portion that you're eating. And before that, you read the ingredients, so you know it's a clean food. You have a little more faith in it. And you can even know by the way it tastes. Are you looking more for the carbs and the sugar? Are you looking more for the protein? And if you are a salt-sensitive person, you might dive into that a little bit more. So I hope that helps you. Obviously, I do a ton of menu planning with my clients, and I love doing it. It's fun. And so if you guys are ever interested in kind of diving deeper into this, just let us know. We set up free consultations all the time. Okay, so you guys have a great day.